Hey everybody, welcome to this new video I have on doing some repairs on a Super Nintendo. So I got this Super Nintendo from a guy here locally. He buys Super Nintendos and resells them. And he buys them off eBay and sells them locally. Not really interested in that. I just like fixing these things. I'm a hobbyist, so I like to basically repair things and keep them out of the landfill. So a couple things to look at with your Super Nintendo. I've kind of already done some diagnostic on this, but I just want to show you guys some stuff. So the first thing we'll look at here is, does the console get power? And you can look at the red light on the front here and see that the console does have power. If it doesn't have power, that's not really the purpose of this video. The purpose of this video is other issues with the console, namely the 3-chip variants of these consoles. And what I mean by that is the ones that have a CPU, a PPU1, and a PPU2 are, honestly, it's sad. Super Nintendos are, eventually they're all going to die because the CPUs and the PPUs on these things are slowly but surely rotting away, and eventually they'll all be gone. So in order to fix them, I mean, the only thing that they don't make these chips anymore, so we have to harvest them from other consoles that maybe have trace repair, corrosion, things like that, where we can actually steal the chips from these boards and use them to repair other consoles that need them. And most of the time, those ones that have those problems, a lot of times they have bad CPUs or they have bad picture processing units or PPUs on those as well. So really, realistically, what we're doing these days is we're kind of Frankensteining these things together to kind of keep them in operation. So like I said, the thing here is this one turns on. If you put the test card in and you try to run the burn-in test, it actually goes into the menu and it freezes, and then that's it. So there are some other things that you can use to test this, and I actually highly encourage anybody who's going to be doing repairs on these, you need to have a couple of things to do these repairs. Okay, one is you need the burn-in cart. All right, the burn-in cart can actually help to, while it's not going to tell you what's wrong with the console, it can give you hints as to what could be wrong with the console. And throughout time, you will pick up, what means what when it comes to these. So I'm going to move this out of the way here real quick and show you some of the things that I use to tell. So the first one is the Super Game Boy. The Super Game Boy, I actually learned this from Retro 6, the Retro 6 wiki. And basically what it says is, if the Super Game Boy works, okay, so your console has, it's not really a black screen. You're going to see that certain games work and certain games don't. If you just straight up get a black screen, try a different game. Certain games will play with certain bad components, and certain games will not play with certain bad components, right? So, but one of the cool things about the Super Game Boy is, if the Super Game Boy turns on, completely works, you can assure that, well, can't assure, but pretty confident that the CPU in this unit is good. Okay, so that's one thing. Some other games that can actually help to diagnose the problem. The second one I have on the list here is Donkey Kong Country. So Donkey Kong Country is great because if the rare logo loads up in the beginning and then the game freezes, basically it just means that it alludes that the CPU on your unit is dead. Okay, some other great things about Donkey Kong Country is if it does get beyond that and you see things like hey, the sprites for Donkey Kong work and the objects move around but the backgrounds are bad, a lot of times it means that PPU1 is bad on the console. So PPU1 is responsible for doing sprites and things like that. So this is a great tool to help you to determine whether or not, one, if your CPU is bad, and two, possibly what PPU is bad if it's one of those. Okay. Another one I have here is Super Ghouls and Ghosts. So Super Ghouls and Ghosts is another one of these games where if sprites don't load properly, something like that, you can basically start to narrow down that it might be PPU 1 or might be PPU 2 based upon what's going on in the game. So I'm going to cut away from this and show you what this console is doing when it loads up. I'm going to start off with the Super Game Boy test, so you can see, just to kind of let you guys know, I suspect that PPU 1 on this Super Nintendo is bad. So we'll find out here, and if you suspect something different, if you know something different from what I know, put it in the comments. I'm happy to always continue my learning process along with everybody else here. So, all right. So I know I don't have great video capture equipment like some of the other YouTube channels out there right now. We'll see what happens. I'll see what I can do here. So we're going to start with the burn-in test cart. If you don't have one of these, you should honestly grab one. You can get them off of AliExpress. They're pretty cheap. I get them for less than like $25 or $30. Do not, if you have an EverDrive or a flash cart or something like that, you can get the ROM of the burn-in test cartridge, but I have seen situations where the ROM of the burn-in test cartridge actually passes the tests. But if you actually have a physical copy of the burn-in test cart, it will actually fail. So keep that in mind. You can do that if you want to, but I'm a fan of the physical burn-in test cartridge. All right. So here's the symptoms of this Super Nintendo with the burn-in test cart. So here you can actually see it does bring up the menu. So we're going to go down here to the burn-in test. And what happens here is the burn-in test actually, at this point, the console just freezes. No response whatsoever. No music, no burn-in test, no nothing. No diagnostic test. So that's it. Nothing more to see here for this one. All right. The next thing we'll see here is the Super Game Boy. So what you will see is that the Super Game Boy completely works. Okay, so the menus around the edge load, the game inside loads. So my understanding of this is that with the Super Game Boy, the PPUs are not utilized. So it is just the CPU. So here you can see that everything loads, everything works the way that it should. So my understanding of this is if this is like this, that means that the CPU for the Super Nintendo appears to be good. So we're going to pull out the Super Game Boy, and now we're going to try Donkey Kong Country. So Donkey Kong Country does not load. I get no menu, I get no anything, just a straight up black screen. So if you are a reseller of game consoles and you actually want to do a good test on a unit before you buy it from a customer or something like that, honestly, the one game that you should always be testing your consoles with is Donkey Kong Country. It really does stress the pretty much all aspects of the Super Nintendo. The last one I'm going to test here is Super Ghouls and Ghosts. So this is actually a pretty interesting, it's pretty interesting what actually happens here with this one. So I actually do get the menu. It does actually bring up this, but then as soon as this sprite pops up in the background here, you're going to see it does not look the way that it's supposed to, and the actual console freezes. If I actually hit the start button before it gets to that screen, you'll see that the menu actually does pop up. So the menu pops up. I can actually hit the game start. It will go through. It'll show the introduction. I don't usually watch this because it actually might freeze here. So it does not, but let's get to the section where it actually does load the game. I'm actually not seeing the sprites and stuff that are supposed to be here normally, so that's always an interesting thing here. So that's kind of what's leading me to believe that PPU 1 on this console might be faulty. Okay. Also, oh wow, look at that. This is actually the first time that I've actually seen it load this screen. Usually it loads a weird looking screen and the game freezes and that's all there is to it. So, oh, wow. That's great. Awesome. Okay. So you can see that this thing is really corrupting right now. So lots and lots of corruption going on. So that's kind of what led me to the diagnostic on this machine, is that I really think that PPU 1 is bad. I have a bunch of donors. I have like 15 Super Nintendo boards that have bad CPUs, bad PPUs, and yes, I could probably Frankenstein a bunch of those things together. Some of them have trace rot, many other things, but some of the cool things that I actually have collected over at least a little bit of time here is I have some CPUs and PPUs that I've actually pulled off, and what I'm going to do is once we come back from this short break that we're going to take here and I get set up on the microscope, I'm actually going to start to pull this thing apart and see if I can get the PPU 1 pulled off the board. You'll see how that happens and how we put a new one on, and then we'll test once it's done. Okay. All right. So the way we're going to handle this, the way we're going to start with this is we are going to add some flux to this PPU 1. And what I'm also going to do is I'm going to add some low melt solder to around this PPU so that I don't have to use as much heat on the board here. So I'm going to bring in some low melt solder here. And all I'm going to do is just go around and add some of this low melt on these legs. And I'm going to die of cancer if I don't turn this on. Sorry for the noise. There we go. All right, now that that's like that, I'm going to turn on the rework station here, and just to kind of let you guys know where I am heat-wise with the rework hot air station, I am at 345 degrees. If you think that's too hot, tell me in the comments. So one thing that you could do here is you could protect this plastic connector here from the heat. There are some things that you can do for that. Let's see if I can. I don't think Kapton tape is going to help that too much, but that's what we'll do. So if there is any components that you want to help protect there, you can do that. Scream at me in the comments if I'm doing this all wrong. There we go. And then all I'm going to do is I'm just going to take my hot air station and just slowly heat up this area. Around PPU 1. So what we don't want to do is we want to keep our hot air station relatively at a 90-degree angle, and we just want to slowly heat up the area until the solder melts. You'll see it'll get shiny. And then once we see that, we'll know that the area is, the solder is liquid, and we can remove the chip from the board. Just going to move this down here just a bit. Hopefully I'm not messing up the video. Starting to see the solder get shiny. It does take a minute. Take your time. What you can do is every once in a while just kind of poke it. Do not force up, or else you will tear pads. Most certainly don't want to do that. You can see it's starting to move a little bit, but we're not quite ready yet. I know there are tools that you can use to put a plunger or something on the top of the chip removal tools. Oh, there we go. Come on, get off of there. And there we go. Our PPU is now removed. Alright. Now what we want to do is we want to bring in some, just going to bring in a little bit of solder wick. And remove the solder from around these pads here. The way I do that is I just typically, there's already some flux on there, it's fine. Bring in my chisel tip here. And just work my way around. Do not press down, or again, you can lift pads. So just kind of let it glide on the pads there at its own pace. Our job right now is just getting all that old solder off these pads. Alright. Last thing we're going to do here is just get some IPA. Clean up this area. Clean up that flux. That old flux that we just used to get all the solder off. And there we go. Alright, so I'm going to come back on the microscope now, because what I need to do is I need to get this this new PPU chip. What I want to do is I want to get it lined up with on the corners and make sure all the legs are straight. You need the microscope to do that. Makes the job a lot easier. I have done it before without the microscope, but it actually will make your life a whole lot easier if you do have one. And then what I will do is I will basically tack the corners, so basically the end pins. I'll try to do this corner and this corner first, and then I'll work my way around just to kind of to lock the pin in place, to lock the chip in place, and then I'll go through around and solder all the legs down. So let me get this under the microscope. All right. So what you see here is I'm trying to get this PPU1 lined up with the pins. So as you can see now, it is very, very crooked. Okay. Let me just clean this up just a little hair. Much better. Okay. So got to get all these pins lined up. So not only with this side, so I'm going to move this up to get these lined up here. I don't have a stencil, like I don't have a jig or anything that will actually hold this, put this in place where it needs to be. So I just gotta kind of eyeball it. So what I'm gonna do here is get that lined up. So get this side lined up here, and this side down here, or this side up here lined up, and this side on the side lined up. And then if you look over here, this side kind of lined up already. Kinda. Yep, except for a couple things here. And then if I look down the bottom, it's not too bad. It's got to go to the left just a hair. So come in here with my tweezers. One. That lined up. That looks good. That looks good. And that looks good. So all those look pretty good. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to tack these corners, the ones that actually do line up, because it looks like I got to line up a little bit more there. So I'm going to put some flux. Actually, just tack these two corners real quick. I'm going to put some flux on the board right there. And then I'm going to put some up here in the top corner also. Like right there. Just want to get these pins tacked down just a hair so that the chip won't move on me. There's that one. This one down the corner looks pretty good. Got that one. And we'll go up here in this corner. We'll get this one. I got that one. And then those all look pretty good. This leg looks like it got bent just a hair. Sorry for my shaky hands. That looks good. These pins all look good except for this one. This one's might have got bent in a little bit. If you bend these pins, be very delicate with them. And some of these down here might have gotten bent. You can see that they are just a little bit off. Come on. Nope, bent a little too far. That one. The rest of those look really good. All right, so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take some flux, run it around this chip, and we'll go through and solder all the legs down. Okay. Bring in the fume extractor. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to work my way around here. A little too much. We'll come back for those bridged pins. A little too much solder there. That's how you take care of that. Just come back later on. And don't bridge the pins like I just did. Did you see what I just did there? Oh my. Can't get the camera to PPU on there. And that soldering iron. You know the deal. Come back for that in a sec. I saw those bridge pins. Please, sir, may I have some more? You want to see as those pins get shiny. If we don't see the pins get shiny, that means they're not getting solder on them. Alright, before we do anything else, we're going to go around and check these pins and make sure that they were attached properly. For this, you will need to get yourself a dental pick, especially for these little chips. What we want to do is just go through here and push on each one just a hair, just to make sure that they're all attached. They all look good. You might actually come in here and find that some of yours did not. It's okay, you'll get better as time goes. And oh, look at that, we got a bridge. A bridge there. Gotta take care of that real quick. Yep. Don't know where I left off, so I'll just go back here a little ways. Is it possible we got all of them on the first try? No, we did not. Almost had it. Ah, you bugger. You don't want to get on there, do you? That one wanted to be stubborn. Here's another one. Go through and do all of them. Just make sure we don't get any. I think that was the one that was loose before. Alright, there's that. At this last side that I have a hard time getting on the camera. The CPU. Gotta get down there with the PPU on. There it is. Alright. That's all done. I'm not going to clean this up yet. I'm going to go over and test it and see if it works. Alright, so to remove this CPU, what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and add a bit of fresh solder. to the chip. And then we're going to use our hot air station to remove that solder. Always clean up your workspace, guys, so there's not stuff all in your way like that. And we're going to come in here with our hot air rework station. And just like when we changed the PPU, we're going to go ahead and change the CPU. Just going to go ahead and heat this up until all the solder melts, everything gets shiny, and it should lift right off the board. Would be nice if we could get replacement components so that we're just not Frankensteining these things together. Especially for those of us who do have the original hardware. Have pretty decent game collections. It's getting there. Almost there. There we go. That CPU goes over there. Go ahead and get this cleaned up. Get the new CPU prepped. I believe I do have a good CPU here. Always clean up your workstations, guys. That way you're not sitting there looking around for your stuff like I am right now. And we're just going to come in with some solder wick and wick up that leftover solder. There we go. Now we're going to bring in our new CPU. Always make sure the Nintendo logo reads just like the rest of the other chips except for this WRAM that's here. Get that lined up. Get this under the microscope real quick and see if I can make sure this chip is straight. Not great, not terrible. That's terrible. Come on, chip. Now we're not lined up at the top. So I'm going to move that over some. Seems like no matter how I move it, one set of pins just kind of is just slightly off. Just slightly. That looks pretty good. More flux. So I'm going to go ahead and tack these corners down again like I said I usually do, just so the chip can't move. And then once I get that, I'm just going to go and tack down all the pins. Looks good. Oop, shaking the camera. Steady, camera. Got those. And got those. Let's get this under the microscope and see how this looks. Oh, that's PPU 1. Don't want that. There we go. We want CPU 1. Alright, then what we want to do is just go make sure... Oh my goodness, I found a loose leg already. I knew it as soon as I looked at it, that it was not down. You could just tell by looking at it. It wasn't shiny like the rest of them. Had kind of a flat appearance to it. Alright, I've got this thing back together just enough to test it. We got the NES test cart in the unit here. So we're going to go ahead and turn this thing on. And I'm going to give this thing a couple tests if it wants to work. Oop. Am I not plugged in all the way? Yeah, there we go. Alright, here we go. Let's give this thing a shot. Oh, logo came up. That's good. Let's see if we get a diagnostic test. Oh man. Oh man. That's awesome. Alright, let's give it a couple more tests here. Let's see if Donkey Kong Country wants to work. That's the big one. Donkey Kong Country is always the one that tells the tale. Alright, let's see if we got any bad graphics in the background or anything, because that's usually that one usually is a PPU problem. Oh, I don't see any bad graphics. Usually if you see some glitching in the background here, that usually is reminiscent of a PPU failure. But yeah, this looks good. Alright. Alright, that looks good. Alright guys, this is going to be a wrap for this second video. I got this unit all back together again. Everything works good. I ran the burn-in test for like 5 hours yesterday, and I finally got the Super Nintendo back together again. So, thanks for joining me on my second video here. Thanks for learning with me, and I'll see you in the next video.